Good morning, Revealing Truth Ministries, family and friends. Welcome to Thursday morning's Deeper Dive session. We are live in the sanctuary this morning. We are live in the sanctuary. We have the livest live audience in all of Tampa Bay with us in the building. And we want to welcome you to the virtual building. Let us know that you're there. Drop something in the chat. Share the stream with those that you're connected with in your social media feeds. And we're glad that you are here to partake of the family conference Deeper Dive. You know, the Deeper Dive gives us the opportunity to attend to the things that God is saying to us, because we are determined to be people who are most blessed. You see, Pastor Brian and Pastor Deborah are here with us this morning. And we are going to, we finished the family conference. We concluded it last night. And now we have the opportunity to tie it all together. And I think everybody loves a good story. So now we can tell the complete story of the family conference. So we'll start that talk this morning. That sounds good?
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. Last night we got to hear the I and the L, the last two letters of our SOIL acronym. So let's talk about some soil today. Yeah? All right.
That was the intro.
That was the intro.
Okay, so soil.
I told you on Tuesday, I'm not a part of any preacher war, so y'all got to figure out who starts and who.
Soil, right? And we did the I and the L, and really a lot of the inspiration that came from that is soil itself. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things about soil, and when you want to have good soil, it needs nutrients. Mm-hmm. And nutrients are very intentional things to the plants that you are trying to grow. And so that's where that intentional grew from. It grew from the point of saying, hey, when you're wanting something to even have a fast pace of growth, right, you start to become intentional about what it is that you are spreading and what you're using to treat that soil. Yeah. You know, you can have some generic types of nutrients, but man, you have the opportunity to get very intentional about what it is that you are going to apply to that soil to see growth take place. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the I came from, is saying, we want to be intentional with our families.
Mm-hmm. With that, so we've heard some good Poe family stories Sunday and last night. When you talk about intentional, and just it makes me think of us just being intentional about the direction that we want our family to go. What are we producing? What are we working on? So, Pastor Deborah, looking back to when your children, who are now adults, but when they were younger, what was that conversation like? Was there a conversation between you and Pastor Poe about just how you would be intentional about developing your family for what you believe God called you to do?
There actually were many conversations because as you get older and learn more things, and learn more things concerning what God has promised your family, your vision starts maybe kind of small, because if you recall the story he told, I just wanted to be able to take my kids to Six Flags and not use bill money. Right. So that was like the beginning of what started our journey on what we wanted our household to look like. What did we want to see? What did we want to see God accomplish? What was God promising us that we can anticipate or expect to take place? So our hoping and wishing became solid with us when we started to see in the Word of God what God's intentions were, what His purposes were for us. And so He always talked about every family should have a vision. Right. Everybody should have a vision from God, because as we know, the Word of God says that without a vision, people perish, or they run wild, or they have no restraints. So making a decision as to what we wanted our family to look like based upon the Word of God is how we started to begin to cultivate the atmosphere around them, the words that we used, the encouragement that we gave. So again, it was not just a one-time conversation, it was a continual conversation, because as you know, children change and children grow, and when they're first here, you have dreams and hopes, but then as they start to grow and mature, you start to see what God's intention is for
Right.
them. And so then you start to set the atmosphere to cultivate even the individual children, understanding that no child is alike. So it's not a cookie cutter type
Right.
thing that's going on, but what I may have to sow into this child may be different than what I have to sow into another child. Sometimes stuff come easy for one child and not for the other child. So it's consistent, because I know you said while they were growing up, but I still see it as me being soil for them, even as adults. So
Yeah.
it doesn't stop. It just changes, as Pastor Brian was saying, the nutrients and what I'm putting in the soil, so it'll produce what's
Right.
necessary for adult children.
That's good. You mentioned expectation. Expectation is definitely a part of the soil that we
Yeah.
need.
Yeah. And
Talk about expecting miraculous outcomes.
right. And, we were just saying, for the joy that was ahead of Jesus, right? He endured the cross. And understanding, I think we've grown to the point, prayerfully, at that point in the family conference, we're grown to the point that it's going to take work. It's going to take work. But let's not forget that there's joy that awaits us, and really looking at Jesus, for the joy that awaited him, he endured the cross, right? He understood what was on the other end of the work. Same way, of course, the Bible tells, where there is no vision, what people perish, right? They cast off restraint. What are we seeing here is that there has to be an expectation. There has to be a joy that is intentionally a part of what we are doing. I can think of in our family, and really just thinking about it from a soil, right? There was very intentional things that my parents did, but the awesome part about it is because it was considered the environment, everybody got the fruit of it in the way they needed, right?
Right.
And so I played Little League football, and I remember I was losing motivation in what I was doing, and because I don't want to talk about people, but the team was bad, right? We were, as a unit, we weren't good.
I'm not gonna dig, but
Yeah. So as a unit, we weren't good.
as a unit,
As a unit,
got it, understood.
we weren't good.
Right.
But we weren't allowed to quit.
Right.
Right. Just another principle. I will not quit, therefore I cannot be defeated. So we weren't allowed to quit. Quit was not going to be an option. However, the unit
Right.
was not good.
We're not talking about individual.
We're not talking about individuals. We're talking about in this team sport, as a team,
Right.
we were not good. There was
I can see
no
how
light
that
at
could
the end of
cause
the
some
tunnel of
frustration.
this season.
Right.
We're halfway through, and our fate has been decided.
Yeah.
But my father and my mother stepped in and created their own incentive program, a part of me playing. Just because, right? Like, no, like you're not gonna quit. That's what's not gonna happen. You're not going to complain and all this other type of stuff, right? It's not gonna happen. And so because of that, they looked at the soil and said, hey, this has to be a part of it. Now, that I was playing football, and I still remember what would happen, part of that package. I got to go to Toys R Us after the game, and whatever I had did, I don't know if that is illegal. I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to leave names out. But anyway, my point being is I didn't go to Toys R Us alone, though. Right? It's not like my brothers and sisters sat back in that moment and Brian was on his own little program. They all had their own things that at that same time that were being given to them, right? And it's just something that we always collectively experience. Chris and Greg were playing football, but they were never as good as I was. So their incentives had to come from a different direction.
Dang. Shot fired. Okay.
That was intentional.
That's good. You know, that's so not wanting to leave the expectations too quickly, but I know we say expectation precedes manifestation.
Right.
But even in this, as we've went through the family conference, expectation also precedes like the actions. Expectation seems to determine the actions that you take. Right.
And that is true. You can't expect one thing and then do another, be counteractive to what your expectations are. And sometimes that's what people do, and it becomes very confusing in a family. You have
That's
this
good.
expectation,
Right.
but you're not helping to cultivate this expectation that you have from me. We expect for you to do your best, but I'm not going to do anything to help you do your best. I'm expecting you to make right choices, but I'm not going to ever filter anything that you're doing. I'm just going to punish you when you do it wrong. So expectation has to be cultivated and encouraged, and again, just having that environment. And I'm speaking again from a past of seeing it take place, but for people who are in it right now and raising their children, and everybody just want to have, I want to make the best choices, I want to make the best decisions concerning things, and God wants you to do that as well. God can work with a person choosing to do something versus a person who chooses to do nothing, if that makes sense. And he can direct you in different kinds of ways as you begin to learn what makes that child grow. And again, you're talking about the soil, and sometimes it's hit and miss, but you got to figure it out, and that's why it becomes intentional. I've got to make sure I pay attention to this child. I got to make sure I pay attention to my husband. And as far as husbands are concerned, the Bible says you need to seek how you might please them. So see, that's an intentional act as well. And sometimes people think things just happen automatically, and they will happen, but something is causing them to happen. So it's nothing is really just automatic. It's whatever is left to. It's whatever nutrients is serving that person. So it is intentional, but it requires observation to see what actually works. Even in soil, you have to, if you want to be good at growing a plant, you need to not just put it in the dirt and just water it and think it's going to grow, but you have to figure out what will cause it to grow.
Yeah.
What will cause it to generate the most fruit?
Yeah.
What will cause it to have the prettiest bloom or blossom? So that is a part of
That's
of
good.
the soil. Yeah.
I think about us being in our Beyond Good series, and the security, the satisfaction that a believer gets is, if I do this part, then I can expect God to either, whether it be make up the difference. Like I might, if I have, I have two daughters, I may not be able to, in my mind, tend to all of the things, but I know that I'm going to do this part, and I'm believing God to make up the difference or do beyond what I can expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what is pretty, I say pretty cool about just our family environment is, I don't know, up until high school, I think we lived in maybe 6 different places. Up until high school, I went to 2 different elementary schools, two different middle schools, 2 different high schools. That's real part. I went there. So 3 elementary schools, 2 different middle schools. My mom would count, yes.
You gotta count.
And then take from a ministry wise, right? Went from traveling wasn't a part, right, to a lot of travel. I'm saying all this to say, like, a lot of things was always constantly changing around us, and that's why I give the school thing. Moving school, some parents really, really, really freak out when their kid has to change schools. And, I changed, I lost count, but I want to say that was 8 different schools in that situation. And house-wise, right? We had to move a neighborhood and they start to panic. And I'm like, man, I lived in 6 different houses, and moving around. But not only that, it wasn't that my parents changed professions, but how they interacted with the profession drastically changed over time, to where, a lot of people stepped in and, became, just family to us to watch after us as they were out doing ministry. And I'm saying all these things could have been reasons or could have been excuses or whatever used to say, like, man, they're not getting the best in coming up. But the fact of the matter is there's always intentional moments that are available that even in all of those different movements and things happening, you won't feel unstable. And so I never felt unstable is my point. And I had to believe that that was just the work of being very intentional about certain times.
Right.
Like if, if the time was available, it's like I never saw if an available opportunity missed. That's probably the best way I could say it, where it's like, yeah, we understood that, my parents are traveling. But if my parents are in town, I never saw an available opportunity missed. And so it definitely brought the stability. But it was, my parents did a very good job in the midst of all of those different things that I see parents nowadays freak out about, of creating a baseline or being very intentional about why we're moving, why you switch schools, being very, very intentional to make sure that it didn't lead to this feeling of unstable, because it just never felt it.
That's good.
My mom probably didn't even think about it to just then. How many times, we had to meet new kids and new teachers. I'm just messing with you.
No, we did. We did realize it was happening, but like I said, there was purpose in what we were doing, and the idea still was to make sure that home was home. That all outside things may be changing, but home is still, home. And to the point, I can remember Brian was in elementary school. I don't know which one it was. Maybe it was the third one. Who knows? But anyways, he came home and he was talking to us about his day. And a little boy had told him he didn't want to be his friend that day. And so, I was concerned. I was like, Brian, what do you think about that? Are you all right? Because you want your child to feel good and comfortable. He said, I don't care. All my friends are at church. Yeah. So the constant became what we did as a family, and we always did church. So he considered his friends actually the people at church, not if a lost friend was at the school, whatever. So again, it's the soil, and no matter where you go, you can make sure that home base and what you're doing stays intact. So we did not talk to him about it. And, just one day, hey, look, the moving trucks are here. We about to go. Jump in. Hey, new school. We were not doing that, which, again, I believe as God directs your life, which we believe that's what he was doing. He's also cultivating something at the same time. My children don't meet strangers. They actually can just talk to people, and because they had to.
Right.
They had to talk to other people if they were going to, work in the environment where they were. And there were some times when we had to make some adjustments because we were watching. It was like, okay, so we got to get a special assignment. We did a special assignment for Christopher. We did special assignments when it was necessary, because we really were looking at the school. We weren't just not doing things. Home for every member of the family should be like home. This is my safe place, and we should make sure that we're creating that environment of safety and security there and giving them what is necessary for them to thrive when they leave our home or go out. And again, it's intentional. You have to. You can't be passive about your family. You can't be passive about your husband. You can't be passive about your sisters and your brothers. And I know we're keeping it almost to the small family, but we don't need to be passive concerning sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins. You don't need to be passive concerning them as well. I have not kept up as much as my brother has kept up with my first cousins, second cousins, but when we see each other, it's almost like, hey, I just saw you yesterday. And that was because of my growing up and what was cultivated in me when I was growing up, how our family was tight and our family was close. So it's not like, hey, I don't really know you, but we just come together that way. So again, the soil is always important.
So we're talking about grooming our soil for miraculous outcomes. And what you just said about us being intentional, even about family members beyond our nucleus, just struck me, because if the soil is prepared, right, then anyone who comes into it can be put in a position for a miraculous outcome. That can always be the expectation. Right. And we talked about how important our words are. Our words are a part of that system. Our words are a part of that soil. You know, the last L in soil talked about our living, our life, right? And give us more. They were,
So
I know listening, laughing, but the other L was learning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so living, right? And once again, just looking at that soil, when you talk about having good soil, you know, there's always some type of organic matter that's in there. You know, you might have some worms in there, and worms actually are good for soil, right? They're a natural aeration system for the soil. And so when you talk about that living, it's important just to know that you guys are not just thinking so this and that, or just so focused on the work that you're forgetting to enjoy living together. And what is living, right? That's a combination of listening and learning and laughing together. And for me, right, we didn't get too big on the laughing one, but that's huge, right? That's huge because a lot of times I've seen and I've experienced and been a part of where people are withholding their joy, right? They're holding it captive from their family. And because they may be mad about something, disgruntled about something, but when you're doing that, you're like literally creating caps and putting stop holes, and just it's creating like just this atmosphere and this environment that isn't pleasant, simply because you're unwilling to enjoy. You're unwilling to, you know, a lot of times people won't laugh because they know that once they smile, they're admitting healing. I've seen people that like, man, they so hurt that they know that, but they reach a moment that they're like, man, this is actually funny. This is actually something I should be smiling at. And they won't do it because they know that if I do this, I'm admitting healing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, no, like we got to, you know, I have so many moments in my life, right? Let's say that there's something that I may have done, and and asking for Rashida's forgiveness, like, hey, I'd have messed it up, and it's like when that moment that I see that smile, it immediately lets me know that healing is taking place.
Yeah.
It lets me know that we are actually progressing. And I've seen people be laughing on the inside, but won't let it out on the outside because they know what it signals. And the Bible tells us the joy of the Lord is our strength. And it's so important that we are okay with laughing with each other, because laughing signals healing. It signals okay. It signals that everything is fine. And man, we have to be distributors of it, but please don't be a withholder of it.
Yeah.
I know we've all, I use myself because I love what my dad said. I can't get mad at myself. I know I've been a withholder of it. And I tell God jacks me up about all the time. Like, Brian, don't you do that. Like, you are healed. You are okay. You have actually moved on. Smile.
Yeah.
and laugh. It was funny. And, so that was there because as a family, man, it creates so much life. Just me and Rashida, one thing, only movie I actually like to watch is I love to watch comedies, and because we just sit down and you're just laughing and it brings so much relaxation. It just brings so much tension just like begins to melt away as you are enjoying life and the moments of life together. It brings living to it, right? And so I just wanted to know that one because I know we didn't get there because people were, they had stopped amening about that point. I was like, you know what? We'll get to it at the deeper dive, right?
Yeah.
We'll make it a big deal.
It's been a while since we've done multiple back-to-back service days. And
Yeah.
it was a good workout for everybody.
The Bible says laughter is good like a medicine.
Right.
Yes, it is.
And it really is. It does. There are even statistics about you should laugh a good hearty laugh every day, and talking about not just the grin, but they call
belly
it
laugh.
a belly
Yeah.
laugh, and it does. It can melt away so much.
Oh, it does.
Stuff. But it's like what Brian says. Sometimes in a family, we refuse. To enjoy
do it.
or even enjoy the moment. It may not, you may still need to discuss something later, but if it's funny, it is just plain old funny.
Right.
And if you can, it's just good. And, and it's contagious. I've been in places where people will start laughing and I don't even know what they're laughing
Going
at,
on.
but they are just,
Right.
they are just falling over laughing. And next thing you know, you at least crack a smile, even if you don't even know what is going on. So
Well, that's been my new thing, right? It really should be hard for us to be sad and save at the same time. Like, like there's certain things that, I know there's I believe all of our lives we want to be living epistles, examples, right, of Christ, right? And we want to do that. But one of the easiest ways that I see us often miss is our ability to maintain and have joy in the midst of turbulent situations. Like that, like where did that joy come from? Like it's joy unspeakable. It's like, how are y'all laughing after what just happened? Right, that's evidence of a living hope being on the inside of us. Like,
Right.
That to me is, there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of things we major on. I believe this is one we need to start majoring on. Is the fact that as believers, we can have joy in the midst of trouble.
Right.
Like we can be excited. And I know we were talking about this a little earlier. It's why, because we have to just be even better about compartmentalizing some stuff.
Right.
We let so many things cross borders in our families. Like we don't have good boundaries. Like
Right.
you was mad about that thing, not everything.
Exactly. Right.
and maybe that thing is still an issue.
Right.
But that don't mean everything is an
Right.
issue.
Right.
Like you spend too much time together to be casting shadows over everything.
Everything.
Like you're gonna, you're
Right.
gonna find, like, don't. I like to say it like this: don't let your greatest asset become your greatest liability. Right? What's your greatest asset? It's the amount of time we get to spend together because we're family. But if you are not careful, Satan will switch that great asset into a liability. And you'll start ignoring things that shouldn't be ignored. And the example I normally give is like, man, what do you mean by that, Pastor Brian? If anybody's ever been a part of losing weight or that type of thing or working out, you're looking at yourself in the mirror every day. And it's very hard to see the growth and the progression. And somebody who hasn't seen you in a month will come up and be like, man, you're looking good. And you're like, I am? Why? Because you've been looking at the mirror every day and you've been looking at yourself and it's hard to see the growth for somebody who's ain't been around for 30 days. And I say that's kind of how it works in families. It's hard because we see each other a lot to see the growth. And Pastor Deborah said it last night. That's why we have to major on the small changes because it's harder to see the big change because we looking at each other every day. It's like we get to see like we have to always take in the bad and the good because none of us are perfect. And so you really do have to not allow that asset to become a liability and be like, I'm not going to say you cooked a good meal because I know you ain't cleaned up the room. Right. And if I say the meal is good, I'm almost certifying that it's okay that the room is dirty. You can't be doing that. The room is dirty, but the meal was good. You can say thank you for the meal, and can we clean up the room later? Right? You can do both. Right. But people just don't have no boundaries, right? It's like, oh man, I pulled into the driveway and you was parked crooked and I couldn't get my car in. So you walk into the house and now you're mad from sundown to sunup, and it's like you got to. It's too much, right? We got. You came in this house. We got to talk to the kid together. We got to eat dinner together. All this stuff has to happen, and we have to do it together. That you can't be mad about. Man, I'm just one thing. You can't be mad. We just have to compartmentalize better. Now, when you get back outside and you remember that they parked crooked and you couldn't get your car to the driveway, take a deep breath, right? And I don't know, maybe move their car forward. Right. Or, I get just a little thing, right? Talk about me, right? What do I work on all the time, right? I feel like you're about to say something.
No,
okay.
I'm letting you. I'm intentionally.
Okay. And so, I've been trying and working on doing a better job of just doing what I'm about to ask for, right? Just do what you're about to ask for, and man, it's not easy. It's been some work, right? But definitely just trying to be consistent in it, and understand that that's truthfully at the end of the day, it's honestly my preference. And if it's my preference, then man, you need to own that yourself. And not to say it's not complicated stuff, but it's stuff like, man, I just love. I mentioned the key bowl thing. Like, I don't know. I just was raised where stuff belongs in spaces. Right. And so, if I start moving stuff around, I'm like, Brian, you moving stuff around. You got to remember where you put it, because that would be the bad part. Right. I would move stuff around and I didn't even remember where I put it. Now I done hid your stuff. You know what I'm saying? And and so I'm like, Brian, you got to be more intentional, right? If you want this to be in a certain space, you got to put it in the same space every time. You can't just be random with it, and But the problem is, it was my problem. That's the point, right?
Right.
And
that actually helps a lot. Understanding what is your preference and what is a problem. You understand? Because early on in marriage, that was my thing too. Putting things in the right place. And so, but Greg wouldn't do it. No, he would not do it. It's just like, and then you start thinking.
The truth is being revealed.
You start
I've learned a lot of things in this family conference.
You start actually thinking they're doing it intentionally.
Right.
It's like, you're totally ignoring me. I'm not being heard. And truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter to them that much, but it is a big deal for you. I was like, you know what? I don't understand why your clothes cannot go in the dirty clothes hamper. I cannot figure out why you can't do it. And so, I mean, I'm young in marriage, so I bought a dirty clothes basket. I put it beside the bed where you took off your shoes, because your socks are always under the bed. Do you know he still would not put them in there? And then finally, God told me, you're the one who wants them there. He's perfectly fine where they are, because he would get up and say, where are my socks?
Right.
I heard a yup in the where are my socks? I left them here. Well, I thought they were dirty, so I put them, and so I stopped. I have a little saying, like, I just whatever I just deemed was my preference, then I had to be responsible for that preference, especially if you've already said it, discussed it, and talked about how it's important to you.
Right.
And it's not a life or death situation.
This isn't
but,
a kingdom issue.
It's not a kingdom issue, but we'll go all out and we'll make it a kingdom issue by the time we get finished with it, because we're arguing and fussing about things. And actually, I'm still fussing about the socks. It's not really what you did now. It's the socks that's the problem.
Right.
So, so we do have to be cautious.
But Dad
concerning
did
those
set us
things.
up for some stuff, though.
But the thing of it is,
no,
he
I'm
changed.
saying something else,
He
right?
changed so much.
I'm saying something else, right? That thing was so funny, right? So me and Rashida we started dating during, this became explosive in the church, where it was like, hey, if you dating a young man, take him to the movies and buy everything.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
that's
just
for
order everything and see how he respond.
Yes.
Well, Rashida was in the audience, and we went to the movies and she started ordering everything, man. It was everything. And I was sweating. It just wasn't good. But I was there at church that night too. So
Right.
I knew it was a test.
Yeah.
I knew it was a test. And here's the thing about that though, right? Then we got married. And I thought that was, all right, let's get on the same page. I did what I had to do. I passed the test.
Pass the test. Right.
Now we gonna start sharing. Like, that was one of the things that said, like, if you're trying to share popcorn, there's a problem. So she had her bag, I had my bag, she had her candy. It was a lot, and then we got married. So I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna eat what you eating, right? We gonna share what we like. And I'll never get, she looked at me, she said, this was not how this happened. I said, man, I didn't know that,
Setting a standard.
this, and so I'm saying all that to say is you do, right? You have to be very, very aware of when you're setting new standards and when you are inviting something in. And I had to realize at that point, right, that some of my problems, it was just a preference, right? It wasn't even in, I'm not gonna mention their name. We were talking about it over the weekend. Like, what I found out that was the root of it wasn't even the cost of the popcorn or whatever the candy was. I don't know, like, husbands just click over into high efficiency mode at some point, right? And so I was thinking of all the popcorn that we didn't eat and all the candy we didn't eat, and I was trying to wrangle it all up and bring it home and spread it out over a few days. And like, I know they laughing, but I just having a conversation just that, I can't, man. I was just having a conversation with the man, and we were helping each other because we realized this is a man issue, right? That like we have these efficiency things. It's like we have life efficiency ratings like built into us, and we're clicking off lights and turning off water, and we're just doing things that we never did, during a courting process. But then it's like the efficiency ratings keeps going higher and higher. And
all the men, Ned.
I know I'm in the pocket, so it don't matter. I know I'm out here putting myself out there, but we were laughing because I was having a discussion with the man, and we were talking about some of the ridiculous things we did on vacation, even though we didn't have a fridge or microwave in the hotel room. Like, I just couldn't bring it to myself. I'm like, we ordered all this food, and so she's like, how would you guys like a take home? Yes. Where are you taking this, Brian?
Right.
Like, I'm taking it to the hotel. When are you going to eat this? I don't know, but I'm not leaving it here. And so, you're in the hotel room. I got it sitting there. And then, of course, he admitted that he's eating the food cold the next morning just to prove a point that we don't waste around here. On vacation, right? Eating cold crab cakes. I took home just one stick of asparagus. I brought one stick of asparagus. The waiter was like, you want this too? I was like, yeah. Put it in the box. And I want the little holiday drizzle too that I see, just scrape and then put it on there, right? But we really gotta relax, man. Wow. We just have these And that's what we realized, that like it was really a man problem. And it felt good to talk about it because I thought it was a me problem.
Right.
But then when I realized it was a man problem, I'm like, man, we need healing, man. We have these things, and it's really because the food is already bought.
Yeah. And enjoy it.
And that's the thing. She was eating till she enjoyed. I don't even know what I was searching for, like completion. I'm still trying to find it, and that's when I realized I needed healing, because I don't even know what I was going for, but I've been going for it for a long time.
Right.
You know, I might as well bring it to this forum that, man, we got to relax, man, like, because then you're mad. That was the problem. I'm in the crossover.
Oh.
Because then we get mad. Right. Truth be told, there's like an inner animosity about the lack of efficiency, you know, and it'll carry over to places, right? But truth be told, it's a preference.
Yeah.
And so we hugged each other and we laughed, man, and we got healing that day, you know, and
beautiful. Don't make preferences standards.
I love how you brought that back.
That's
But I had to find the root.
Yeah.
And when she mentioned it, I realized the root, the seed that grew was my daddy. So I don't know who other men in this ministry is dealing with the trees that have grown.
Oh, wow.
From that popcorn.
Wow.
From
I don't believe this. He just played.
He did.
His
and
preference.
listen, I even tried, right? I even tried to so when we go out and eat with my dad, right? You can order whatever you want, but he was also paying, you know, but then, you know, it was like we go out to eat and it's like, babe, like, but then the problem was when I was out with my daddy, I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was participating. I was ordering appetizers and soups and salads and desserts. And then, you know, then we go out as a family. I'm like, babe, you sure you gonna eat? You need that appetizer? You know, you sure you need? And it was like, I felt caught between two different identities, right? You know, it was like, and then, but she sees it all. I'm saying this, I'm not just talking about myself. I'm saying this for all the men. Like they see it all, like that you got these multiple personalities going on, and they see like, no, like when we was over here, you ordered everything. Then when it was just us, like it was like this different version of what was going on.
What you say, rations? Rations. What is this?
That's the truth.
Yes.
But
I like how Pastor Deborah kept it she kept it compartmentalized. You can't separate your whatever that example was for that example. But our preference is our preference.
Well, the point is, we're talking about environments.
Right.
And we're talking about the soil that is our family. And I know I'm saying this way, but, you know, for one, it actually is a big problem for me, right? And then it actually miscommunicates. And that's where, now you're making me get serious. Now you want to get serious. But I had to slow down because I realized that I was really miscommunicating a thing to Rashida by how I was literally being two different people. You know, like in one moment, it's okay. The next moment, it's not okay. And really, she just was looking for some form of consistency, you know, and she's really not thinking about it from the same place that I was thinking about it. But internally, like I'm having, and this is what I'm saying, I'm sitting there like literally disturbed and bothered and like just, man, and then not compartmentalizing that to the moment and then taking that over to other moments and situations. And I realized that no, like the problem really came back to how I was being inconsistent and how I wasn't being, operating at a steady pace and how I was not actually the one, right? It really actually came back to that. And I'm saying this because, I believe it's a healing moment for me. I feel better about it, but for me, I always do. I don't just think of things, we talked about this before, I just don't think of the tree. I always think about what in our environment is being sown that this is the outcome we're getting. And that's why I make the joke, right? When I go back and say, man, like, where did this come from? And I sourced it all the way back to, man, you set this standard while y'all were dating. Like, I did that. And the thing about it is now that, you're seeing the fruit of that, you can't just start trimming trees. You have to think about the environment. Like, what are you doing in the environment? But then I realized I was actually presenting an inconsistent environment. And that's the example I mean by when I would go out with my dad, I would do all of this. And then it would be me and her. And now I'm doing all this, like asking, I'm just funny, like, so what you ordered?
Right.
Well, then she'll be like, well, what you getting? Now you understand, I'm going to get what I'm getting based off what you say. So what you getting?
Right.
Now I want to see what you getting, and you just...
Yeah.
Then she picks up, you be like, well, I'm really not even that hungry tonight. I'll just...
We all know.
I know.
We all know. We all know.
Is this the best foot forward deal? Is this the best foot forward? I think
that's what we thought we were doing, but a lot of men,
deeper than that.
A lot of men are caught up years later, and they're trying to figure out how to
bring it back. This may be preview of some men's conference situation.
I don't know. We might need to.
We'll finish this on the bus.
Wow. Great plug, men. If you haven't registered for the men's conference, you can do so. Get your deposit in. It's just $50 to secure your spot. Do that by this Sunday, and grab another brother or a young man that you have influence over. Bring them along with you. It's a great weekend coming up, right? Today's Thursday. We're looking forward to the weekend. A change event is happening on Saturday. The women will be here at 9 o'clock. You can either join them in person or join them online. Something special is being planned for them. And then also at 11, they're having their breakfast club at the Mill here in Tampa. So if you haven't, is it too late to get your group? You can get your group of ladies together to register for that as well. And then we'll see you in the building on Sunday. If not, catch us online. Till then, keep being people who are most blessed. We love you. We'll see you soon.